Israelis. And so people say, no, the really red-pilled thing is that this is the Khazarian Empire. This is some obscure Central Asian Turkic kingdom that became Jewish and has just been living the lie for 1,300 years. And now they're in Israel for some reason. I hear this one too. And once again, you have to wonder, what is even the point of that? And then you realize, who is the number one beneficiary of both of these narratives? It's Jews. Who is the number one? If you go out there and say, oh, Netanyahu's not a real Jew. As a matter of fact, none of the Israelis are. Who's the number one beneficiary of that narrative? Well, it would be Orthodox Jews. Maybe the Lubavitchers. It would be some group of Jews who believe that they are the real Jews. And they feel that they are being blamed for what Israel is doing or what Netanyahu is doing. Doesn't that sort of fit neatly? Tucker always likes to say, well, the problem isn't Jews. That's crazy. Don't talk about Jews. That's anti-Semitic. Tucker says the problem is neocons. Forget about Judaism, Jewishness, the Jewish nation, No, nothing to do with that. He literally sat face to face with me and seriously said that Judaism has nothing to do with Israel. Judaism has nothing to do with neoconservatism. Okay? The problem is neocons. The problem is Netanyahu. And Netanyahu is not even a real Jew. He's Polish. Interesting. And Candace Owens says it's Khazarians. Oh, Israel's an evil state, but Israel's all Khazarians. None of them are real Jews. So who's the beneficiary of this? Well, it's all those Israel-critical Jews, all these Orthodox Jews, conservatives in America, that they don't want to be blamed for what Netanyahu is doing, for what Israel is doing. But this is a lie. Like I said, genetically, these people are Jewish, in Israel and Netanyahu too. And maybe more importantly, everything that Israel is doing, it doesn't come from, people say it's these Frankists. This doesn't come from Jacob Frank. This doesn't come from the Central Asian steppe, and it doesn't come from Poland. You know where this idea comes from, that they have greater Israel? It comes from the Hebrew Bible. You know where this idea comes from, that they're going to wipe out all their enemies? That's the story of Amalek. It comes from the Hebrew Bible. In a word, it comes from Judaism. Where did Jews get the big idea that they can kill everybody that is an idolater? It comes from their Talmud. It comes from their fucking holy book. You don't need to invent some esoteric satanic cult. You don't need to invent some interloping other ethnicity. This is who they are. They have the lineage to the original Jews who rejected and killed Christ, who were corrupted, who rejected their own Messiah, and were punished for it by being kicked out of their temple and their land. And all of these perverted ideas, well, that's just the Hebrew Bible without Christ. That's just the law without Christ. That's the Pharisees without Christ. That's where they get the idea that everybody that stands in their way should not be shown mercy or love. That's where they get the idea that they're going to wipe out the women and the children in pursuit of their birthright, in pursuit of their land. It comes from Judaism itself, this perverse bastard religion that did not accept the Messiah. That's what Judaism is. It is a bastard religion. The Hebrew Bible had its fulfillment in Christ. That's what it is. That's who the prophets were. That's what the mark was on the doors in Egypt. That's what it's all pointing towards. That's what it was all for. That's what they paved the way to have in the end, from Adam and Eve, through Noah, through Abraham, through Moses, David, Solomon, all the way through to Christ. And now it's done. What exists now, what they call Judaism, halakhic, what they call the law, the Talmud, is a bastardization. It's effectively a form of a heresy. So who are we trying to protect when we say it's not those real Jews? I'm sorry, what's a real Jew? The Pharisees that put him on the cross? That's a real Jew? We're supposed to be okay with that? No. I see somebody say, Candace Owens said the other day, she goes, God's chosen would never do this. Hey, I have a news flash for you. It was God's chosen that put him on the cross, genius. What do you think happened there? Calvary, whatever happened there? She goes, God's chosen people would never be this heinous. I'm sorry, did you miss the ending there? Did you fall asleep before the end of the drama of the Gospels? That's the whole story. God's chosen people rejected their own Messiah, their own gift. They traded him for Barabbas. They demanded he be executed and crucified. He was betrayed by his own brother, his own disciple. And then you say, I can't believe they're doing this all the... Well, what do you think happens? 2,000 years without the light of Christ? They've got the Mishnah, they've got their commandments, they've got their traditions, their synagogues, their rabbis, but they don't have their temple. It was taken from them. They don't have the veil, the land. It was taken from them. And they don't have the Logos. They don't have the Christ. They don't have the light of God. So how could it be anything other than corrupted and perverted? And people are trying to go out and say, it's the Polish, it's a white supremacist thing, it's neocons, it's Khazarians. No, this is just these people now persisting. Genetically, they're Jewish. Culturally, they're Jewish. They derive their supremacist ideology, their national feelings, chauvinism from this text. And we have to be very clear about that. No, I'm sorry. We're not going to blame white people for Israel. Not going to happen. And we can't be deluded about the nature of the real issue here. And the reason I say it's an issue, it ties back into Jewish nationalism. When Joe Lonsdale says that young men should look up to Cyrus, the Jewish Messiah, you see this guy has not let go of his Jewish national feelings. When Steve Saylor says that if the Goyim ever found out that Jews were smarter than them, we would come for them with the pitchforks and torches, they have not let go of their Jewish nationalism. Same with Curtis Yarvin and his little lackey. Same with Alex Karp, who's afraid the Christians are going to throw him out of a window. Okay, we have to be realistic about what is going on here. And we can't say that all these people are just Khazarians living a lie, or they're Frankists keeping this dynastic secret that they're a cult. And we can't blame white people for them either, because that's not what it is. So, in many ways, the interview is very good. In other ways, the interview is deeply flawed. And this, ironically, or maybe not ironically, is Tucker's contention with me. When you see Tucker calling me an anti-Semite all the time, and when he goes and qualifies everything that he says by saying it has nothing to do with Jews and Judaism and Israel, keep this in mind. They want to keep the conversation on Netanyahu and neocons in Israel, and they don't want to talk about the bigger issue here. It's a story of peoples. It's a story of nations. And these things have a draw on us. Our mythology, our story, our parents, our nationality, it tugs on the heartstrings of men. And so to look at our country, which is being influenced and controlled by Jews, by a Jewish class, you have to look at their affinity for their Jewish nation and stop pretending it's all ideological, looking for ideas to blame. It's the neocons. It's people that feel a certain way. It's this group. And unless we get a handle on that and we promote a version of Jewish identity that is compatible with America, we're not really addressing the root cause here. And I'm not saying that people can't be Jewish. And I'm not saying that people can't embrace their Jewish identity. But it has to be done in a way with some deference to the country they reside in. And if they can't do it, then they can't have power over us. You want to be a Jewish supremacist? I don't care that much as long as you just live far the fuck away from me and you don't have $50 billion to spend in my elections. That's a problem. And you want to be Jewish and celebrate that and everything? Okay, good for you, but you better put America first. You got to look out for everybody in this country, and you got to recognize this is a Christian European country. That goes every way, shape, and form, not just for the immigrants. I see guys like Stephen Miller, they say, oh, these brown people need to assimilate. No, you need to assimilate, you arrogant Jew. You need to assimilate. Stephen Miller, with his Jewish wife and his Jewish kids, and all they talk about is how Jewish they are and they're pro-Israel. And Stephen Miller, people want to give him kudos because he's against brown people and black people, telling them to assimilate. Hey, you first, pal, you arrogant Jew. You assimilate. Then we'll talk about the rest of these people. Here's the difference. Illegal immigrants, they're running they're running a corner store. You're the deputy chief of staff. So who's really the issue here? People talk about, these immigrants need to assimilate. Hey, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. But illegal immigrants, okay, they're picking berries. They're on a farm somewhere. Miriam Adelson is spending $100 million per cycle. So where's really the urgency? I mean, it's actually a little bit hard to pick, but the difference is one group seems to have a lot more agency and power, and you can never say this to them. And the other group, people have a field day. So those are the flaws of the interview. And I see this narrative being promoted. Don't be deceived by this. Don't be deceived. They do it with Epstein. They do it with Netanyahu. They want to say Epstein wasn't really Jewish. He's a vampire, cannibal, Khazarian. Netanyahu's Polish. He's a dude from Poland. What is that? That's not true, and I think it's a very deceptive narrative. I wonder who's really behind that, because it's being promoted. It's being promoted by Alexander Dugin. It's being promoted by Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Ian Carroll, Ron Unz. I don't like it. And it seems very Russian. That's my feeling. It seems very Russian. Seems like the Orthodox Jews like that little narrative. So Americans need to get hip, okay? We need to get wise, figure out what the real situation is. But that's that. We're going to move on. This is a 2-hour monologue, so we got to move on and get into the super chats.